The Canadian Centre for Human Rights Watch is an organization of Canadians who are concerned about human rights around the globe. The aim of this organization is to create the awareness about human rights issues and abuse in such places like Russia, North Korea, China, Middle East, South America, Africa, and elsewhere around the globe. Today we're going to be talking about the plight and challenges of Baloch in Pakistan Occupied Balochistan. Why is it today? Today is the 27th of March. In 1948, exactly 69 years ago, Pakistan occupied Balochistan. Since then, thousands and thousands of people have been killed by Pakistan state machinery. World-renowned human rights organizations have been concerned about what's happening in Pakistan's occupied Balochistan. Today, we here in Canada will be talking about the horrors that are happening right now as we speak in Balochistan. And I would like to introduce to you human rights activists, champions in Canada who are raising the awareness, who are trying to bring the attention about what's happening in Balochistan. So I would like to introduce Mr. Tarek Fatah, who I would like to introduce Miss Aruna Pap. She's serving Canadians and exposing the issues of honor killing, domestic violence, gender inequality. She's also very concerned about the women and children rights in Balochistan. Please welcome. And today we also have two people from the indigenous Baloch. Dr. Zafar Baloch, who is the president of Baloch Human Rights Council of Canada. He is a scholar and a sufferer in the hands of the Pakistan Army. And we also have Ms. Karima Baloch. She is the leader in exile of Baloch people. She came to Canada as a refugee after barely escaping herself from the horrors and tortures of the Pakistani government. She also saw many of her fellows being killed and executed. And she moved to Canada about 2 years ago, and we also like to welcome you here.
The fight for human rights in Balochistan is our fight. It is Canada's fight. It is the fight of everyone who cares about human dignity on the planet today. And secondly, I am appalled that our current government should be allowing the Immigration and Refugee Board of Canada to determine that student organizations exercising their civil rights are anything other than that. To call them terrorist organizations is scandalous. To see the status of bona fide refugees, truly persecuted people, overturned in our country breaks my heart. And we will all fight for justice in those cases. We will all fight for the protection of those persecuted in Balochistan today that Canada is able to help. We dream of peace for Balochistan. We dream of peace for all the people of Pakistan, for peace in the lands inhabited by Pashtun tribes from Kunar and Hunza, all the way down to Quetta and the parts of Balochistan that are shared by Baloch and Pashto-speaking peoples. We dream of harnessing the great potential, mineral potential of Pakistan, of Balochistan, but of all of Pakistan and Afghanistan for the good of all those peoples. We dream of an Afghanistan and Pakistan that are united by commerce, by respect for borders, by human rights and the rule of law, above and beyond dictators changing borders and terrorists sponsored by states. There is another threat, and that is the threat of countries and militaries and intelligence services, security services that have taken it upon themselves to repress entire nations or to repress minorities inside nations. I want all of you to know that you have support in Canada. You have support among human rights defenders around the world. And for my part, you have an advocate who will continue to try to speak the truth about Pakistan's internal situation, about the threats proud Baluch people are facing in their homeland, and of Pakistan's role in Afghanistan and elsewhere as a sponsor of instability and a sponsor of violence. The days of scrutiny, greatest scrutiny, and the days of reckoning for these injustices are yet to come. But by our joint efforts, by working together, we will bring them closer, and we will shine a light into the dark recesses of this conflict that has gone on for too long. Thank you very much for being together, Tarek. I'm very sorry not to be able to see you tonight.
In 1947, India was amputated, its limbs were amputated, and a 10,000-year-old civilization was permanently cut off from its roots. The city of Ram's son, love, was taken away from Hindus, and Nankana was taken away from Sikhs, and Sindh was taken away from Hind. And people of that region simply shrugged their shoulders and said, you know, who cares? जब तक दुकान चल रही है, नौकरी लगी हुई है, अपना क्या जाता है? And that mercantile mentality was directly facing the Islamo-fascist agenda that today we see in the Islamic State. But what we forget is that the Islamic State of al-Baghdadi is not the first Islamic State. The first Islamic State is the Islamic State of Muhammad Ali Jinnah. And for the Islamic State, you don't have to be a bearded mullah or a hijabi or a niqabi. You could be eating bacon and drinking beer and whiskey and running away with a 16-year-old girl, be a pedophile, and yet be called Qaid-e-Azam. So we need to then figure out what exactly are we fighting here. We're not fighting Pakistan. In 1947 and 48, Pakistan invaded two states. One was the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and the other was the state of Kalat. In the state of Jammu and Kashmir, they were defeated, and the state of Kalat, they won. The state of Jammu and Kashmir is still occupied by Pakistan. They have just incorporated Gilgit-Baltistan, which had actually nothing to do with Pakistan, as a province of Pakistan, to which, pardon my language, but the mercantile Indians have just said, as long as our potatoes are not very expensive, as long as we get cheap onions and cement from the Pakistani army factories, who cares? Bobby Jindal is governor over there, somebody's a CEO of Google, and that's what matters. So on one hand, you have the indigenous population of Hindustan, which is totally, pardon my language, spineless and cowards, who don't wish to fight for anything. All they want is to be CEOs of companies, marry fair-looking women from the Northwest, spend $2 billion in skin whitening cream, and then say, well, 500,000 Pandits got thrown out. And what does the rest of India say? Sanuki. That's what you did. You saw the genocide of the Pandits in 1990. I don't know of a single Indian in India who has felt the pain. You think you'd go to Kerala and somebody would say, I think we have a problem. No, he doesn't have a problem. As far as he is concerned, the Pandits can go to hell. And that's actually where they went. So you think that we will talk about Baloch to someone in Bihar, and they would say, oh my God, the Baloch are suffering. We killed 3 million people in Bangladesh in 1971. And the Bihari and the UPite, not the Hindu, the Muslim was supporting the Pakistan army. And what did the Indian do? They wanted the war to end soon. So you left all the war criminals and gave them as a gift to Benazir Bhutto because she was so pretty. And Zulfikar Ali Bhutto spoke such good English. So Indira Gandhi was totally enamored. And Mr. Kohl said, oh my God, these guys look like us. You handed over war criminals to Pakistan and then are saying, why are Bangladeshis against India? My point being, what are we fighting? We are fighting Bill 103, or Motion M103, in its various forms since 1947. And it is not a coincidence that March 23rd, 1940 is the anniversary date, March 23, 2017 is the anniversary date of March 23, 1940, when the Pakistan Resolution and Bill M103 was introduced in the parliament here by the government of Pakistan, by the Council General of Pakistan, and by the High Commissioner of Pakistan. And what did the opponents do about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Till a few days prior to that, the conservatives didn't even know what to do. Forget about the NDP or the Liberals or anyone. You got MPs in your Peel region who know the catastrophe that has been caused by Islamism in India, who have voted for this bill. Am I right or wrong? Shame. And the one guy who stood up, Mr. Sikand, is being targeted. And the language being used is that he betrayed the people. My goodness, the arrogance. You think that Pakistanis own that writing? There'll be a backlash that people will not understand. And it is then that they would know what it is to be a Baloch and to be victim of genocide. When I started, I said these two invasions took place. The invasion of Balochistan only took place once the Indians said, your Urdu-speaking upper-class Indians, in which all the Kashmiris take the oath of office, by the way, because every other language is crap. They said that the Muslims of Punjab and Frontier, Bacha Khan and Khan Kalat and all these crazy Sindhis, they don't speak Urdu. We don't want them. So what do we do for Bengalis and Punjabis? You cut up India. Now you've got Maulana Abul Kalam Azad, who destroyed the history of India and made cities, the holiest city of Hinduism is called Allahabad. It's like telling someone that Makkah will be now called Ramgarh. Imagine, the holiest city of Hinduism is called Allahabad. And yet the Hindu says, I can live with that, and with that music as well. Because elsewhere that music is soon going to be banned. What should be done and what has to be done? We need to get our act together. Muslims in this country, if they cannot accept the fact that it is written in our books to hate non-Muslims. And that we will not apply those segments of our faith in our public life. If you don't have the courage to say that, forget about Balochistan. Because even some of the Baloch nationalists do not discard the Sharia teachings. They too want a Balochistan in which, what will happen to the Zikris? What will happen to the Zoroastrians? If you cannot guarantee me that Nani Ka Mandir will not be destroyed when a Baloch mullah, after 20 years of Balochistan's independence, is going to kill Hindus in Balochistan, then why the hell should I be fighting for Balochistan? Fine. Because you did get Bangladesh and you won independence. And then what you did, you made Bangladesh into the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. After 5,000 Indians died, Bangladesh became East Pakistan again. So, if we are not clear about the ideology that sustains this horror, to suggest, with due respect to my friend Aruna Pam, who said, is this Islam? May I suggest that it is? Because we killed, we had no problem slaughtering the grandson of the Prophet. And these are just Baloch. They don't even speak proper Urdu. We could dispense 1 million of them for one Hussein. And who did the Prophet's family seek refuge? The Hindu kings of Sindh and Kashmir. And what did we do? Our Sindhi nationalist leaders are called Sayyid. The people who want Sindhi nationalism say they are from the Prophet's family. Their arrogance is such that they say that the Prophet's family that was hunted down in all of Arabia for 100 years, the names of Ali and Fatima were cursed at every Friday prayers. That's your Umayyad Islam. That's why the Prophet's family came to Sindh and Raja Dahir gave them refugee status. And who is the hero of India's Muslims? Muhammad bin Qasim. Your Kashmiri auntie, what's her name? Durra Shewar, who wears the burqa, who sings about Ibn Qasim tu kab aayega. Didn't she just sing? Ibn Qasim tu kab aayega, Kashmir ke Musalmanon ki aa sunne. Oh my God, this is happening in 2017. They're Indians. They wave flags, Hindustan Murdabad. What do the Indians do? How about nothing? How about Kashmiri chai badi achhi hoti hai? You can't do nothing because you lost your Kshatriya spirit. And the Pakistanis, they were meant to destroy this world because our life begins after death. Which Muslim over here will deny that our life begins after death? Is there anyone who will deny this? All of you want to live, we want to die. Our guys want to kill ourselves to get a first date. You guys are dating so you can live. And we are running around the bush. Oh, this is genocide. To hell with genocide. These guys killed their very own people. The first wars of Islam were the wars of apostasy. If those who have read Islamic history, where Khalid bin Walid killed a friend of the Prophet, took his head, emptied it out, and made it into a pot in which he cooked food, and then raped the wife of that woman in front of everyone. If you can't read it, it's too politically correct. I hope this is going live on Facebook, is it? It is, because I don't give a damn. Sorry?
You will love you, really.
No, forget about loving me. I'm too old to love. I'm 67. You better go for a 20-year-old. No, Papa. But this is the problem. If you can't speak the truth, why do you search for the truth? Your motto is, what is the motto in India? Which I consider myself Indian. Kya hai? Bataiye. You made a TV program out of it and then said, oh, the TV chalda hai na, sikhi kariye. You shoved truth in the basket and you wanted to be Bobby Jindal. Then you realized, wrong Christianity. So we got to change again. So first he became evangelical, then he became Catholic, then he became white. And then every Indian said, so what if Pakistan has so many people there? We got Google, we got Microsoft. As if they give their money to you. They treat your drivers in Delhi the same shitty way that you treat your Hindu drivers. You mistreat Indians worse than anyone. So don't talk about mistreating Baloch. When you go to Delhi and kick people around because they are of a different caste or because the color is black, what good is it to fight for Balochistan if you can't even treat a free person like a free human being? And what shocked me is that I had to go to India to find out that Muslims are of 3 categories. I never knew. There's a F-16 type, which is called the Ashrafia Musliman. Then there is a B-52, which flies lower, which is the bomber. That guy, Aswar Musliman. Then there is a third, which is called the Kameen. Razil. There is a group of Muslims whose only job is to clear shit. You can't marry that Muslim. Nowhere in Egypt, nowhere in Turkey, nowhere in Arabia, God Almighty, secular, independent republic of India's comes up with this solution. So when you gave away partition, you gave up 2 things. You lost the only Muslims who could think, that is the Bengali and the Punjabi. What were you left with? Were the people who said, we will eat cows because it pisses off Hindus. We don't eat cows in Punjab. We don't eat cows in Balochistan, Turkey, Egypt. Prophet Muhammad said, don't eat cow meat, it's poison. But the guys in UP said, but it pisses them off. We're going to eat cow. Isn't that true? Yes. So that's my point. You're fighting an ideology. You're fighting something that is grounded in a hatred of human life, not just Baloch. This Islamism hates human existence. And if you cannot get to people and talk straight and fight this out and say, I'm going to speak the truth because that's what the Vedas say. And there is a line, I think it's in the Gita, which says, Tu kareja, your right is not to expect. No. Well, it says, it is not your right to expect anything. Your right is your duty to keep doing what you do. But we're looking for the bottom line. We're looking for the Bombay Stock Exchange results. Oh, my mutual fund is going up. It's not going to go with you when you are buried underground or put on fire. Your kids are going to take it and then fight over it and then hate you for not giving you the equal share. I'm digressing because I'm old, I'm 67, I can afford to. But I want to leave you with one thought. As long as there's Pakistan, there's no peace on earth. The only way to bring peace on earth is to break up Pakistan, and the only way to do it is to fight independence of a sovereign Kalat state which accommodates British Balochistan, the Murray-Bugti areas, because we have a legal precedent. We have contractual obligations with Whitehall in which we will fight it the legal way, as well as with Dr. Ala Nazar, who is fighting the war in this winter on the hills. Azad Balochistan, Zindabad.
Some of you may have heard that I have been working in Canada for about 3 decades on the issue of domestic violence, honor-based violence, and honor killings. And from time to time, I'm asked to travel to other countries to talk about the issues, and I decline because I think that I have enough to do in Canada. I am quite busy. And so when I was asked to speak tonight, I hesitated do I want to get involved in another project? And my husband, David, he said, what do you know about the women and children of Balochistan? They probably don't have a voice. I am so pleased they do have a voice. Thank you. People, when you mention Balochistan, they will say, oh, this civil war. There are internal conflicts. I made it a point after David asked me, what do you know about Balochistan, to learn about what is happening in Balochistan to women and children. There is no war in Balochistan. There is no civil war. It is genocide, to start and end. Very few people know what the definition of genocide is. Let me share the definition. It is a deliberate, systematic extension of a nation, of a race, of a culture, of a tribe. It is systematic destruction, which takes long-term planning. It doesn't just happen. And this destruction starts with killing those who are intellectuals, who are academics, who are the media. If you kill the brain power, the destruction is easier. Then the second step is to steal and take away their resources, starve them. Third, take away the privilege of education. This place, this country, this Switzerland of East, as it was, has resources that are plentiful, and yet 8 out of 1 child attends school, and after matriculation, they don't. There are no jobs, no places to go. When they have taken away these privileges, what do they do next in their plans? Systematic destruction is to terrorize. And how do they do today? They take the men of the community and shoot them in front of children and women. And those who stand up to the torturers, they throw them in the village from the helicopters. Can you imagine your father, your grandfather, your brother coming down to the ground, screaming? This terror. And then those who are working in the fields, trying to make a living, they wait until the crop is ready and then set it on fire. The men are hiding. There's no protection from the women and the children. They walk in. Who are they? Who are they who are destroying these people? The Pakistani army, the so-called protectors of a place, are raping women and children. Infants as young as 3, women as old as 80. And they call themselves Muslims? Is this what Islam, their Islam, is teaching them? To change, to abuse women and children? What I learned that shocked me more than anything else is why the West is silent. West, including Canada, is silent. It is not just Canadian shame, but it is also my shame. I feel very responsible for not having joined the fight of my sisters and brothers in saying this is not acceptable. Those of us who live in Canada have a privilege, a responsibility to speak for those who cannot, and then make sure that they do have the power to speak for themselves. As of today, I wondered to myself, driving here, am I responsible for what is happening in Balochistan?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because I am so busy with my little projects. I promise you today that wherever I am asked to stand up and speak for those who do not have the privilege of having their human rights, I will stand beside you. Thank you.
After the Kurds, the Baloch is the second largest stateless nation of West Asia. Our history is a collection of memories of wars against subjugation. Fiercely independent, the Baloch would fight 100 years for one day of freedom. The British invasion of Kalat in 1839 established colonial rule over Balochistan for 109 years, a century of resistance and intrigues that ended on August 11, 1947, with a complete withdrawal of the British forces from Balochistan, recognizing it as an independent state. Unfortunately, this freedom lasted only 277 days, when the Pakistani armed forces captured Kalat on March 27, 1948, and declared Balochistan a part of the Muslim-majority Pakistan. Thus began a new struggle for freedom in 1948 that has lasted 69 years, with the ongoing Baloch movement that seeks complete independence from Pakistan. Plight and challenges of Baloch nation are many, but to simplify the complex nature of our less-known political struggles, we can categorize them into three areas. A, Baloch nation's legitimate right to statehood and recognition of Balochistan's independence by the international community. B, fight against Pakistani state-sponsored Islamic jihadist outfits used by the Pakistan Army to crush secular Baloch nationalism and promote Talibanization of Balochistan. C, end to China's takeover of the deep-sea port of Gwadar in coastal Balochistan and stop China-Pakistan strategic partnership from using Balochistan as a beltway to plunder our natural resources and build up of military bases for expansionist designs. These categories of Baloch national sovereignty problems appear to be Balochistan related, but in reality they are linked with broader regional as well as international issues such as global security threats, terrorism, and political destabilization of the region for peaceful development. And most of all, one problem cannot be resolved without equally getting involved with the other two. In short, Pakistan is the epicenter of evil connected to global jihadist networks and not an ally of the West in the war against terrorism. The strategic location of Balochistan and the geopolitics of the region proved in the past to be the ground where the great game of the 19th century colonial powers was designed for control of territories, nations, and vested interests. Today, we have new players emerging in the region to gain from the exploits of the past, creating new threats to peace and security with global consequences. Balochistan today is once more at the crossroads of invading armies, militarism, and a nation subjugated to foreign dominance with the freedom struggle as the only hope of salvation from the dark forces. The West must realize that today's Balochistan is not the picturesque land of exotic tribes with medieval weapons. This Balochistan is under occupation of a brutal jihadist Pakistani army with nuclear warheads and China as its strategic partner. The traditional tribal society in Balochistan is rapidly being transformed by the Pakistani state and its sponsored jihadist death squads into a hell for the secular Baloch nationalists, where thousands have been disappeared, tortured, executed, and buried in mass graves. Internationally banned terrorist outfits such as Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jamaat-ul-Dawa, Jamaat-ul-Ahrar, Jaish-e-Mohammed, and the Islamic State, along with the Afghan Taliban, have been provided with safe sanctuaries in Balochistan by the Pakistani Army and its ISI, Inter-Services Intelligence. These terror groups operate within the Balochistan, targeting religious minorities and Baloch political activists, and also are trained for cross-terror attacks in neighboring Afghanistan, Kashmir, and India. Lawyers, journalists, teachers, students, and enlightened scholars are the prime targets of the state-sponsored terrorism. The other major concern of the secular Baloch nationalists in the Pakistani state policy is the Pakistani state policy of systematic conversion of the indigenous populace into a minority in Balochistan. Targeted areas of forced mass displacements are being witnessed in the city of Gwadar and the whole stretch of the 600 miles of the Makran coast, where local population of fishermen are being deprived of their livelihood. 70,000 original inhabitants of Gwadar are forced into selling their lands and migrating to areas where they have become IDPs living in camps. Same is true of the Bukti and Mari tribesmen who have become victims of Pakistani troops' aerial bombardments and ground operations, forced to migrate to other provinces. While the indigenous people are being driven out, Afghan refugees, people from other provinces, and families of armed forces are being settled in Balochistan. Hundreds of thousands of acres in Balochistan have been grabbed by the army to build new colonies for settlers to bring the demographic changes needed to control the region. The latest census by Islamabad is being opposed by all political parties in Balochistan as a conspiracy to declare Baloch a minority and deprive them the right over land, resources, and sovereignty through demographic changes. Islamabad has made the decision to deploy 15,000 troops in the port city of Gwadar as a special security force for the protection of the Chinese personnel arriving to be stationed there. Out of these 15,000, 9,000 will be the regular army soldiers and 6,000 paramilitary frontier corps. And in addition, 100,000 Chinese People Liberation Army troops will be deployed at the Djibouti military base and Gwadar for the support and protection of China's growing naval power in the Indian Ocean. As you can see, the plight and challenges of Baloch in the Pakistan Occupied Balochistan are of regional and global nature and too complex to be addressed by a nation deprived of its own lands and coasts run by foreign occupying armies. Balochistan's problems are a global challenge to the world community in which Baloch is willing to play a decisive role. An independent Balochistan is the key to regional stability in the long run, and it requires a larger role by the West to make that happen. Without the active support from the West, Baloch as a people are doomed to be crushed by the two powerful nuclear-armed states, turning the Arabian Sea into a Chinese lake. Thank you.
In June 1947, Britain appointed Sir Cyril Redcliffe to supervise the demarcation of Indian subcontinent. He had 5 weeks to decide the borders of India and Pakistan. After his arrival in the undivided India, he pondered for days at his darkly lit office over the possibilities of dividing the Hindus and Muslims of the subcontinent. He drew lines on blank papers, discarded them, drew them again. On the final day of the deadline, he drew other lines and presented them to the British authorities. Those lines, drawn in extreme haste, now make the borders of India and Pakistan. Parts of Balochistan were handed over to Pakistan in the demarcation process, despite the fact that Balochistan was never part of the Indian subcontinent. The remaining Baloch territory, known as the Khanate of Kalat, a sovereign state, was occupied by Pakistan this day, March 27, in 1948, 8 months after the formation of Pakistan. Britain calmly endorsed the occupation, fearing that an independent Balochistan might join the Soviet bloc. 109 years before Pakistan's occupation, the British authorities in India invaded Balochistan and killed its leader, Mir Mehrab Khan, in 1839 to secure safe passage to Afghanistan. It led to a local uprising under the leadership of Mehrab Khan's son, Mir Nasir Khan. On May 14, 1954, the British signed an agreement with Nasir Khan acknowledging the sovereignty of Balochistan. The agreement was violated by the British several times in the coming decades. In 1871, Sir Frederick Goldsmith, another British official like Redcliffe, divided Balochistan into 2 parts and gave away half of it to Iran. The Baloch ruler was not even asked about his opinion. Today, the Baloch are a stateless, suppressed people. Thanks to the irrational demarcation of the region under the colonial rule, thousands of Baloch have been executed under successive Iranian and Pakistani regime. This day, 27 March, marks the 68th anniversary of Pakistan's occupation of Balochistan. The Baloch people remember this day as one of the darkest days in their entire history. It began an era of political, cultural, and economic separation of the Baloch under Pakistani control. Pakistan's military establishment since Balochistan's forced amalgamation with Pakistan has always seen the Baloch people with distrust because of their struggle to restore the sovereignty of their homeland. To stifle any indigenous voice, the military has ruled Balochistan with an iron hand. Thousands of political activists are languishing in secret military detention centers, while hundreds have been killed and their bodies dumped. The Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have declared Balochistan one of the worst victims of human rights violation. Pakistan's own Human Rights Commission of Pakistan has reported that the military establishment is sponsoring religious extremist group to radicalize Baloch society in order to counter the secular Baloch nationalist movement. These radicals, apart from religious preaching, act as unofficial army of the military in the kidnapping and killing of Baloch activists. The killings have escalated multifold in recent years as Pakistan strives to implement the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPEC), a $54 billion project to connect the Baloch coast, especially the strategically located Gwadar port, with China. The Baloch coast is being vacated of the local people and has been given to the total control of China. The Baloch see the CPEC as a mega land snatching project and a conspiracy to convert the Baloch people into a minority on their own homeland. Pakistan is committing this high-handedness with the Baloch people under the nose of Western powers that once placed the Baloch at Pakistan's mercy because of their faulty demarcation of the region. The silence of the champions of human rights values has encouraged Pakistan to not only deprive the Baloch of their basic political and economic rights, but also to kill them with impunity whenever they ask for their rights. It is the moral obligation of the Western powers to help the Baloch people in their struggle for an independent Balochistan where they can live with a sense of security and dignity. They have the power and authority to do so. The lines powerful people draw on blank papers have led to the genocide of weaker people like the Baloch. The powerful people need to learn to draw better lines, ones that can save lives, ones that can lead to the freedom and prosperity of the mankind. Thank you.
Aruna Pap raised a question that why Canadians are silent. I have the answer and I would like to give the answer because the hardline Muslims, radical Muslims have taken refuge in Canadian political systems. They have made hideouts in every political party like Liberal, Conservative, NDP. And I will give you an example. Last week, the candidate for the leadership race of Conservative Party of Canada, Michael Chon, was meeting with the Muslim community under the patronage of Consulate General of Pakistan, Imran something his name is. And you people know very well, there are some people who knows, who are the lawyer profession that they are in law, they know that the Election Act Canada, Section 33, prohibits them. Any diplomat cannot put their influence over the Canadian political system, but they are doing, and the Iqra Khalid, who has taken the motion M103, she is the only lady who, after signing the member of parliament register, the next hour she went to Pakistan High Commission for, you could understand, okay? So this is the answer, Mrs. Aruna Pap. That is why do Canadians do not participate? Because they are totally unaware. They are ignorant what is happening in Canada.
So today there is one Bihari who really cares for Balochis. So, his name is Devesh Shankar. Now my question to you, Mr. Tariq Fatah, is that I came to know about Balochistan when I was following Pakistani media, and then all of a sudden Hamid Mir was shot. And then I got to know the background of his programs, and I found that he was doing program on missing people, right? So then he was shot. Then I went into the history of this, what is going on, and then I found this, every time there was an upsurge in the revolution or those kind of thing, Pakistani government always strike a balance and tries to win over some of the political parties with the money and whatever. They bring them on the board, they have an election, and once again it goes down, and they go to the mountain, they start fighting. Again, these all kind of political gamescape starts. So how we are going to get out of this and we get to the solution?
One thing the Baloch leadership can be proud of is that they've never been able to sit together. You also have to understand that it is not a largely urban society. It is mountainous, pastoral, and tribal in nature. And despite the fact that many of the leaders of the initial movements were progressive, Marxist, left-wing activists, especially Mir Bazinjo and the late Nawab Khairbakhsh Murray. But the betrayal by India of the Baloch has never been recounted. The state of Kalat wanted to join India, but you wanted Urdu-speaking Muslims who wore kurta pajama and did sher shari. So you are blessed with them, and we are blessed with the Baloch.
What about the parts occupied by Iran? What's happening there?
One is a legal international framework within which the state of Pakistan on March 27 invaded the state of Kalat. That is a completely separate issue than what happens in Iranian Balochistan. You need to be careful as to whose agenda is being pushed when you talk about Iran, because that agenda is of Pakistan ISI. Okay, you need to be very clear. Their point is that Iranian-Indian relations should be soured. And many of our Baloch are not understanding this. You do not have any precedent legally of claiming Iranian Balochistan, Sistan to be part of anything. That notion of a historical greater Balochistan that existed in the 1700s is never going to happen, because you can either take a fight that is legally on your side, that has law on its side, or you can take a historical notion of something like Akhand Bharat, which is also never going to happen. But if you talk in terms of the state of Jammu Kashmir being part of the Indian Union, or, for example, the state of the region of Goa joining this, or the state of Hyderabad through the wars over there joining the Indian Union, you have legal precedents. You cannot have a mixture of these two. My Baloch friends might differ, but they are walking into a quagmire and a catastrophe straight into the hands of the Pakistanis by bringing Iran and Pakistan into the same, and therefore undermining what Prime Minister Modi is doing. And if you do not recognize that Modi is your only friend in the world, then you better look for Mahatma Gandhi, and he's not coming back.
There are certain issues related to what's happening right now in the region, the different powers that are fighting for different things, and Balochistan is in the middle, at the crossroads of all, like we mentioned in our presentations about China and other stuff. But going back to the historic divide of Baloch as a nation, that began during the British colonial period. In 1871, the demarcation lines, the Goldsmith line was drawn, and that's how we lost the part of Balochistan to Iran. And then in 1928, it became, there was a huge military operation throughout Balochistan. But before that, there was an announcement, there was an uprising led by Dost Muhammad Barakzai, and he declared himself as Shah Balochistan, and he, like the king of Balochistan of that part, and he still has his fortresses and everything. So the lots of tribal chieftains followed him, but all of them were asked to come to Tehran for negotiations. When they went there, all of them were hanged. That was the end of that rebellion at that time. Then after that, the military operation started, and the whole of that part, which is now in Iran, was annexed forcefully. So, of course, there are lots of human rights violations going on in the Baloch area. The language is not being accepted. Baloch cannot even speak Balochi over there. They are not even accepted as a nation or a people as Baloch. They are, like mentioned, they are just another dialect of Persian. They are just Persian people. And Persian racism is, of course, there. And they do not accept Kurds, they do not accept Baloch, they do not accept any other nation over there inside the Iranian territory. So, of course, there is a struggle for rights, for identity, for culture, and that's going on.
Why is there in the West, everybody talks about Palestinian problems, and nobody talks about Balochi problem? There are probably more Balochis than there are Palestinians. What can be done to bring your situation at the same level as the Palestinian issue? And my second question is to Tariq Fatah. Mr. Fatah, you have spent quite a bit of time in India recently, and you know the Indian thinking and where they are going. Do you think this issue raised by Mr. Modi after a long time by some Indian leader, is it going to stay there? Does it have any strength? Or is it just a fly-by-night thing and he's going to move on to something else?
तो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल फ़लस्तीन के पास वो रिसोर्सेज हैं जो वो अपनी आवाज़ दुनिया तक पहुंचाए. और रही बात बलूचिस्तान की, वहाँ मीडिया जो है वो कंप्लीट ब्लैकआउट किया हुआ है पाकिस्तान आर्मी की तरफ से. इवन अगर कोई ज़िलज़िला भी आता है जो 2014 को आई थी बलूचिस्तान में, जितने भी मीडिया पर्सन वहाँ पे ज़िलज़िला को कवर करने गए थे तो रास्ते में ही आर्मी वालों ने उनको वापस भेज दिया, और जितने भी NGOs वाले गए थे उनको भी रास्ते में ही वापस भेज दिया, क्योंकि पाकिस्तान नहीं चाहती कि कोई मीडिया का कोई नुमाइंदा बलूचिस्तान के अंदर एंटर करे, चाहे वो ख़ुद पाकिस्तानी मीडिया हो, क्योंकि वो तो रियासत की सतून होती है, वो उन चीज़ों को दिखाती है जो रियासत दिखाना चाहती है. मगर इंटरनेशनल मीडिया के जो नुमाइंदे होते हैं या दूसरे ऐसे लोग होते हैं जो अपने काज से, अपनी जो सहाफ़ती ज़िम्मेदारियाँ हैं उनसे मुखलिस हों और कवर करना चाह रहे हों बलूचिस्तान में जो जेनोसाइड हो रही है, जो वार क्राइम्स हो रही है, उसको तो उनको छोड़ते नहीं. हमारे जितने भी मकामी अखबारी नुमाइंदे थे, हमारे जितने भी इंटेलेक्चुअल्स थे, हमारे जितने भी ह्यूमन राइट्स एक्टिविस्ट थे, टीचर्स थे, उन सब को पाकिस्तान या तो गायब कर चुकी है या तो उनको टारगेट किलिंग में उनको मार चुकी है, या उनकी मसखशुदा लाशें हमें मिली हैं उनको गायब करने के बाद. तो बलूचिस्तान में सिचुएशन ऐसी है कि वहाँ पे मतलब अगर कोई औरत वहाँ पे, अगर कोई ऐसा बंदा वहाँ पे ख़वातीन के हकूक़ पे काम करना चाहे तो उनको ये तक इल्म नहीं कि वहाँ पे ख़वातीन पाकिस्तानी आर्मी की कैंपों में, टॉर्चर सेलों में एज अ सेक्स स्लेव यूज़ हो रहे हैं. हमारी औरतें, किसी को भी पता नहीं. और पाकिस्तानी आर्मी मुकम्मल मीडिया को ब्लैकआउट की हुई है, मुकम्मल इन चीज़ों को छुपाई हुई है. एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ISI, और जैसे डॉक्टर ज़फ़र साहब ने कहा था, जब ज़िलज़िला हुआ था तो जितने भी ये डॉक्टर ने उनके नाम लिए थे, जमीयत उलमा इस्लाम है, लश्कर खुरासान है, ISIS है, जितने भी मज़हबी इंतहा पसंद ग्रुप्स हैं, उन सब को आर्मी खुद बलूचिस्तान में उस वक्त उन एरियाज़ में दाखिल कर दिया उनको जहाँ पे मुज़ाहमत शिद्दत में थी और आर्मी वहाँ पे कुछ नहीं कर सकती थी, तो ज़िलज़िला को आड़ बना के वहाँ पे एनजीओज़ को नहीं छोड़ती थी, मीडिया को नहीं छोड़ती थी, डॉक्टर्स को नहीं छोड़ती थी, इवन जो ट्रक्स बलूच अवाम दूसरे इलाकों से जो चीज़ें कलेक्ट करते थे ज़िलज़िला ज़दगान की मदद के लिए, उनको भी आर्मी रोक कर उनके सामान छीन कर उनको वापस भेज देती थी। मगर तमाम मजहबी ग्रुप्स जो हैं उनको उसी वक्त एंटर किया उन एरियाज़ में। अभी भी उनके कई सारे कैंप्स हैं जो एज ए डेथ स्क्वाड बलूचिस्तान में बलूच जेनोसाइड और नस्ल कुशी में इस्तेमाल हो रहे हैं।
First of all, the Baloch are not Arabs. Second, the occupation of Balochistan was not by a non-Muslim state like Israel. It's okay to occupy a Muslim by a Muslim state and commit genocide. That's the reason why we never got any support from the neighborhood, from the region, from the Arabs, from throughout the world, the Muslim world. They talk about the Israeli occupation of Palestine, but they are blind, completely blind to what a Pakistani Muslim state is doing to the Baloch.
My point is this: isn't division of Pakistan going to create the problem multiple times? Is there a better way to basically, either call Pakistan a terrorist state?
When we come to the bridge, we'll cross it. The problem right now is the tumor. It has to be excised. As far as the tumor being in Pakistan, I'm not quite sure. I think the tumor lies in Old Delhi. If you guys cannot start a petition to rename the city of Allahabad to its original name, you can't do anything. Can you? Look, I was single-handedly, if I could change Aurangzeb Road to Abul Kalam Road and then change Dalhousie Road to his brother's name, Dara Shikoh Road, you guys can change. Why should Allahabad be Allahabad? Simple baat hai. And it should not be people from UP who do it. Get hold of a guy from Tamil Nadu and Kerala and Orissa and Assam and say, we're not going to have this city. Number two, you're not going to accept Tughlaq Road in the middle of Delhi. You do that and you kill the serpent where it is. The serpent is not in Pakistan. Honest to God, I've never met more radical Muslims in Pakistan as there are in India. I've never. They live in democracy and they hate India to the core. And the problem is that there is a duplicity. In our side of Pakistan, we are Punjabis and Pashtuns and Sindhis. We don't know the Ganga Jamna Tehzeeb of bullshitting. Your side has a concentration of bullshitters. Wow. Everything you do is with a sher shari. We are pretend Urdu. You are Urdu. It is a language of domination and genocide. 3 million Bengalis were killed to speak Urdu. So you need to know that any time the script of your conqueror is used, it's your blood with which it is being written. Can you imagine Warsaw having a Hitler Street? And you have the highest priced real estate in all of the world on Tughlaq Road, the guy who destroyed the Kashi temple. And what do? You sit back. You had one Babri mosque, and all of India is a hostage to that. Get 10 Muslims to say Babur should never have been there. I don't care about Janam Bhoomi. I care the fact that Babur should never have been allowed to take an inch of property because he was from Uzbekistan and he died in Afghanistan. What the hell has he got to do with India? But you don't do it because you measure time, Kal Yug, 1 billion years. We Muslims, 1,000 years, enough. 1,000 years of colonial enslavement and you're not angry? And at the moment you become angry, people say he's Sangi. That's what they... What do you mean? You wiped out the temples of Kashmir, broken them. It is near Srinagar and you made them into tourist resorts? How could your temple be broken and make money out of it as a tourist resort? As a Muslim, I get angry at that. I never saw a demonstration in Lucknow. They're saying, what's the temple's name जो श्रीनगर के पास है? ना sir, वो तो अभी है. My goodness, it's shattered. The guy's name was Butchikan. Sikandar Butchikan. The guy's name is Alexander the Idol Destroyer. It's not even a Muslim name. He's got a Greek name to destroy Hindu temples, and he's a Muslim. You change Allahabad's name and Tughlaq Road, and we'll manage Pakistan.
Instead of being small groups like Balochis, Kashmiris, Sindhis, what can we do as a collective force against and expose these organizations? Let me finish, sir. As they are Pakistani establishments, not radical Muslims. Yes, they are radicalized by those establishments. Second, Tariq Fatah Saab, you just said about India and this one. Even if we are able to manage, brainwash every Muslim in India, let's say, is that going to solve Balochistan's problem? Is that going to, how?
Do you know who's forcibly converting Sindhi Hindus to Muslims? There's no Aisai. There's no in Punjabi. There's no Mahajir. These are Sindhi Hindus, Sindhi Muslims. And many of them would be nationalists. You're missing the point. After partition, it is the duty of the Indian Muslim, and Indian Muslims being from Bangladesh right up to Balochistan, that Ghazwa Hind has to happen. You show me one Muslim who's against Ghazwa Hind, and then we'll talk.
It will never happen.
Oh, it didn't. Pakistan, you think Pakistan came from the skies? No. Then how did it get created?
When do you think you'll have a movement which is kind of similar to, I don't know, I mean, Congress during India's independence, or something which has structure, something which has weightage, and it's not like 7 different entities speaking on different lines? Because when you're looking for funding and other things, what matters is a unified presence. So when do you think that leadership will emerge?
We have not brought this education to the forefront, is my experience, okay? From talking to the churches and traveling around Canada, we have not done that. And in a meeting of NGOs, I said, what kind of attention do we need to bring to the media? The mainstream media does not want to listen to us because they are all politically correct. So if I put gasoline on myself and set myself on fire in front of Parliament, right, I would get attention. I don't think M103 is that important, but you know what I mean? That kind of attention is missing. How many of us here are willing to pitch a tent in front of Parliament and go on hunger strike? That would bring attention, right? If one man can shake 1.25 billion people of India, if one man can turn that civilization on its head, how many of you are here? Why are we so desperate that nobody's listening to us? We have a role model of what can be done. So I'm a fan, I'm a student, I'm a disciple of what this man is saying we need to do.
Unless there is a movement asking for a ban on the Muslim Brotherhood or declaring it as a terrorist organization, you can't do anything. But look at the United States of America. 92%, I can understand 92% of Pakistanis voting for Clinton. But when 92% of Indian non-Muslims voted for Clinton just for the H-1 visa, it tells me you don't give a damn about anything except your personal profits. You voted for someone who was anti-India, anti-Hindu, everything, and whose Assistant Secretary of State was bought for $1 million and then fired because they couldn't charge her because the files from the State Department in her hotel room ended up in Islamabad. And yet the entire Indian elite Republican Guard of the San Francisco techie netties, and by the way, every time a Pakistani does something, who gets beaten up? An Indian. Well, Sikh, the destiny is to get beaten up. Every time they look like Osama bin Laden, I don't look like one. That's your damn problem. But you are not involved in anything. Every university, every White House has a Pakistani in it. Here, what did your guys do? You have every high school with a Muslim Brotherhood, MSA. Okay? Every non-Muslim South Asian is telling his dad, Dad, you're an Islamophobe. It's not Muslims who are saying that. It is your children who are telling you that you're racist. It's your failure. Because you're feeding your pappus, even by they're 12 years old, you keep feeding them. Mela pappu, mela pappu. They grow up to be pappus. They have no political savvy. The Pakistani is born to destroy this world. His mother tells him, Mera beta shaheed hoga. Aapka maa kehti mera beta CEO hoga. Guess who's going to win? Whenever a lawyer and a hoodlum fight, when did you hear of a lawyer winning the punch fight? Hoodlum. Hoodlum wins. Hoodlum, we are hoodlums. Hoodlums are us. So your children have been brainwashed by our children into believing that you are racist and the mullahs are so sexy. That's it. Anytime somebody is wearing a hijab, 50 or 60 white women suddenly drop dead and get teary-eyed. And I've seen videos of women dropping down to imitate the praying of Muslim women on main streets.
Hijab day.
Kissing hands. Hijab day. It touched me. What? Since when did your ears become sexual organs? They're not emotional. They're savvy. They're savvy. They're doing temporary marriages now on campus. And 10 years ago, you always had to have a black man in a constituency office. Now, you need a hijabi woman. You cannot have a non-hijabi woman. No Indian non-Muslim woman works at any office. You got to put yourself with, what's her name? She was a liberal who went to the Conservative Party convention. Or Arz Hoor. Can you imagine? You're in a constituency office of a liberal. And you attended the Conservative Party convention and there you cried.
For the Conservative also.
Yes. And everybody sat there, oh my God, we misbehaved with the Muslims. Where is Apsi? Let's beat him up. You know, if they'd beaten you up, people would say, Theek mara. Kafir ki aulad tha mara. Look at how they're treating, kya naam hai bachchi ka? What's her name? Marish. Yeah. The language being used by Pakistanis. Not one of them has been banned, right? So, when we say that the kids have been brainwashed, they're not being brainwashed by Muslims. They've been brainwashed by their own kids, by the parents who have said, beta politics mein nahi padna. Tumne MBA karna hai. So once you keep telling your son, beta MBA karna hai, aur wo 35 years ki age mein kehte, mama meri shaadi kara do na. Then you get a 22-year-old from India in the matrimonial columns, fair and lovely. You have destroyed your kids. And the Pakistanis have made soldiers out of them. You got to fight it out right in your home. No, this is Canada. We will not accept any 7th century law in this land. Those who want 7th century land should go to 7th century countries. And not Pakistan, but Somalia and Yemen. That's where real 7th century is. Have our say in the next Conservative Party leadership convention, in which we say the leader of the Conservative Party should commit to wipe out M103 And when it goes to committee, we will have Muslims outside the committee room, outside sitting, say, you cannot speak for us. You want to talk of Islamophobia? You come with me to Somalia, live there 30 years, then you will have the experience to talk about Islamophobia. If you haven't lived there, get the hell out of here. If you don't have 7 Muslim MPs sitting over there, if you don't have MPs who have suffered the fascism of political Islam, you don't have a right to discuss this. All you need is 10 Muslims. I could live with 5, but if you give me 2, I'll still can live with it. But we can't find them because even today, some of our bravest lions refuse to come. क्योंकि गर्मियों की छुट्टी में मरी जाते हैं ना तो वीज़ा नहीं मिलेगा. You know the people I'm talking about. They didn't want to be seen here because there would be ISI. यार ISI वाला जो यहाँ है भैया, जान छोड़ो हमारी. If you cannot get politicized, outside seminars, stop giving speeches, do some action, then we are finished. And this country is gone. Because England is sinking. It is sinking. And if French don't elect Le Pen, you're dead. You're lucky you got that president of America. People say he's crazy. Thank God he's crazy. We're fighting crazy people.
The young teenage girls who are growing up in Pakistani community who don't want to be forced into marriage, who don't want to have 8 children, who don't want to have 10 children, and they reach out to us and say we need the shelters for women are packed. There's no place to put them. I cannot find 10 families in the Pakistani community or Indian community to place these women, with this girl. Nobody. Okay?
Send one to me. Honest to God.
I know. So what happens is when we put them in shelter or we put them in white communities or families, then they are going to be killed because they have lived with other men. They have lived with on all kinds of things. So we have no choice but to put them back, leave them where they are. This is a tiny little hope that we have that young girls who want to become Canadian, who want to have a choice, who want to be educated. We have had 24 honor killings in the last 2 decades, okay? But you talk to the community and say, I need a room, I need a bed, I need a safe place. Nobody will take them. So when we talk about action and we talk about our community, we can't keep a child safe, you know? So that is our shame.
A very important question that you raised was Baloch unity, the unity of the Baloch political organizations and the leaders. Because without that, we are, you pointed out rightly that we are doomed. We need a structure, we need a setup where the Baloch leadership should unite, and then only the masses, the people of Balochistan, can follow that. And right now, that's exactly what the people of Balochistan are demanding from their leaders. People of Balochistan are united, and they want the leaders to be united and come on one platform, an alliance. To explain why this has not happened, I would like to go back a little bit because there is, like Tariq mentioned, that Balochistan is a tribal society. It's not anymore a traditional tribal society as the Baloch traditional tribes existed centuries ago. It's a different kind of tribal society which was inherited by the British called the Sandaman Sardari system. And Pakistan is exploiting it. And where the Sardars are no more tribal elders, but they are feudal lords. And they are bought very easily. So that's, aside from the few tribal chiefs, like Nawab Khair Bakhsh Mari, Akbar Khan Bukti, Ataullah Mengal, few of them, the rest of the tribal chieftains were bought by the British before and then later on by the Pakistani establishment. So these are one of the few things where a tribal setup is a huge hindrance in forming a Congress-like political party because that society is in Balochistan is a tribal one. So this is one of the obstacles that we have. But aside from that, Balochistan's political movements, and especially the youth organizations, have done a tremendous job. Like she's the chairperson of Baloch Student Organization of Balochistan, which is the largest youth body in Balochistan. It was formed in 1967 and still exists and struggles. A National Awami Party was a huge political organization, a political party in Balochistan that won in 1971 the elections and formed a government.